established along with, you know, in line with city policy.
And violations of that, you're off, you're cut off.
I can just check a box and they can do more.
Okay, thank you.
You got this?
Thank you.
They won't be able to pay taxes with these anyway.
Correct, they'll have tax exempt.
And that's what we're really trying to
Right,
eliminate.
right,
Okay.
have tax exempt on the card, so it won't.
Mary.
Good afternoon. I have item D and item E. A few months ago, we had a contract that you all did with GeoSource, and so we got the results back from them. And so item D is where we are having to remediate some asbestos at Elgin Primary. And it is in the amount of $66,475 for Elgin Primary Substation. Then item E is for removing lead paint and asbestos at 406 South Chestnut, 616 East Reader, and 622 East Reader in the amount of $11,300. And those are the three homes that we're tearing down. We're talking about to build our new substation at. So that is just removing asbestos and the lead paint at those locations, is what these two contracts are for. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary.
I have two items, and the first is a drainage project in the Hickory Hills subdivision area and along Holiday Drive for $284,035.
Any questions? That's been needed for.
Yes, sir, it has, and it's been an ongoing project for well over my tenure on the council. So thank you for that. I know it's been a long time coming for your persistence on that bill.
Second item is an agreement with James Alexander Surveying, and this relates to a property at 329 Kingston where it has eroded, you know, and there's just a precipitous drop off from the backyard to the creek of about 12 feet or so. And we're going to go in there and, well, first of all, we need the easement. That's what this is for, to get the easement so that we can work in that area. And for some reason, the easements that were drawn up years ago were like 20 feet from where they needed to be. So.
Any questions from Bill? None. Thank you, Bill. Mark, you have a budget.
I drag him up here, Dick.
Thank you, old heavy.
He told you he's going to. Well, first, before we get to the budget, we've got a couple items on the consent agenda, H and I. The first one is for a drive into our killing tank site where we're building a water tank out there. We have to get a drive so we can get all the heavy equipment in and get access to it. For those that are on the utility committee, we've discussed this before. That tank is out there adjacent to Brooks High School. It's replacing a small rusted out tank that's in the middle of a pasture right now. So, but this is to get the road in. We only got two quotes, and the lowest quote was from B.H. Craig. Well, both of them were local companies, but B.H. Craig in the amount of $44,350 to clear and put that road in so we get the construction started.
Any questions? Thank you, Mike.
The next one is Kono Cranes. This is a renewal of a maintenance and inspection contract to inspect on a regular basis as required for all of our cranes at our drinking water plants and wastewater treatment plants. We have something like 20 cranes at all three facilities, and those have to be inspected on a periodic basis and have preventative maintenance done to them. We use them for anything from removing pumps to transferring chemicals, whatever's needed. There are a lot of them located around these facilities. It's only about $300, less than $300 higher than the previous year, so we thought that was pretty good that they held it pretty close.
Thank you.
Next item, Mark's gonna present. Okay, it's it's the gas and water budgets. We met with the utility committee on May 26th for the gas and water budgets. I spent some extensive time with Michelle, Councilmember Jordan, and Blake, going over these items on our budget. We've got a lot of SRF projects. If for those that may recall, we've got like $67 million over 4 years we anticipate spending for improvements to the water and sewer system. We've got work going on now out of the system. I know all of you have experienced some issues with the contractors, some good, some not so good, but we've been on them, and we got a new guy that's fixing to start. Met him today with the engineering firm. He's actually worked for another engineering firm for about 9 years. I told him his phone's gonna be real busy and his email's gonna be real busy because we're cracking down on them, and on one of them told them we're not making payment till they get some of this stuff caught up. They have a tendency to want to lay water line because water line gets the biggest payback for them the quickest, and do the cleanup later, and we've stopped them from doing any lines till they get some of this cleanup straightened out. So we just have to stay on them. That's what we got the engineering firm for as well. So, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Mark, or we've got Rebecca here on the gas side. He wasn't here today. He's on vacation, but we can answer any questions you might have on the budget. Be glad to get with you at any time to discuss anything.
Any questions, Mike or Mark? None. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike, I didn't see this on the agenda.
It's under 13A, the last page.
Yeah, general business, 13A.
Yeah, we, my thought. Okay. David.
Got 3 things on the agenda this afternoon. The first one is an addendum to our master agreement with Labella Associates to do engineering at the landfill. This is to do a capacity study. They will use either a drone or a plane, come in, fly the landfill, check us for compaction rates, how much room we got left at the landfill, and give us all this information. We do this every 2 to 3 years. It's been 3 years in this case. The cost of this is $14,400. We will report it to AM as well. Pretty routine stuff. Anybody have any questions on that part? The second thing is the invoice from Barnett Plumbing of the toilets at the street department. 2 out of 3 went out and parts were obsolete, so we replaced all 3 of them at once. Get them back in the game there, and that's that second invoice. Third thing came through the Public Works Committee, as did the first thing, was the changing of the tipping fees at the landfill. Right now, C&D materials and, brush and demolition debris is $15 per ton to be disposed of, and everything else is $20 a ton. So we proposed, we raise it all to 20 because it will make it a little easier on the guys to determine what a load coming in is. It'll all be $20 a ton. It's very competitive with landfills in the area, so we're proposing to make that change just to simplify it and to generate a little more revenue on the landfill. So the Public Works Committee approved this as well. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Chief's not here. Bill, Frank, you want to go ahead? Sure.
I'm here regarding item O on the agenda, and that's for the removal of a row of tree stumps that border Florence Boulevard in contract with Allen Franks. And basically they're a safety hazard and just need to be taken off.
Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
checking on Tyler. Okay. Are you filling in for Bill? Yeah, you.
I'm just here. He said he's coming at 4:30.
Okay. You sure you don't want to fill in?
I'm sure I'm not taking.
Maybe better to. I'm glad he's here. Yeah.
Well, I noticed that Bob has not fixed the lectern here, so we'll have to scold him when he gets back, okay?
We're gonna scold him about a lot.
The item I'd like to discuss this evening is consent item P, which is a resolution to approve the third amendment to the contract with the University of Alabama to provide phase 2 of design and sculpt a large-scale outdoor sculpture for the Florence Singing River sculpture and increased by $28,000. As you're aware, these funds are privately raised. This project's been going on way too long, but Mr. Matson's been, very connected to the University of Alabama, and we're in the final process of getting ready for the base and the location. So we know where it's going to be, and the only cost we'll have will be for the base, but that'll come to you at a later time. This is just moving forward. This is just moving forward with the statute.
To cover what cost?
This has covered the statute only, and these funds were privately raised funds. The funds that down the road when we come toward with base, we're responsible for paying for the base. So we don't have that information currently to bring to you, but as soon as he has that together, we'll bring that forward.
And where is this gonna be located?
Statue's gonna be located, where we went in with the county for remove the tattoo parlor. This will approximately be at the corner of Bluff and Mitchell Boulevard. Right now, there's some crepe myrtles there. Actually, for some reason, there's an old temporary electrical circuit there, so that'll be removed. And all the signage has already been, Mayor Holt, he and Martha ordered all that, so the information will go there providing what it's all about's there. And Martha, I've checked on that, the street department has that in storage.
Please forgive me, I think I might be misunderstanding something, so help clarify. What was Ray's private funding?
Right.
Privately funded, what was privately funded?
All right, Singing River Sculpture Program was started by a group of individuals. Bill Matthews was one of them, and they raised funds for the statues. The cities, Musco's has theirs, Sheffield has theirs, and Tuscumbia. So Tuscumbia and Florence are the last two. And those funds that were raised privately for the statue, we've had, Shana has it in our fund. So
that's what this is?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm just making sure
The
because I was
base,
like.
the base is something that still has to come forward, but that is what we have to pay.
Right, I know that municipalities have had to pay for whatever they're standing on. I just want to make sure that I was understanding the way you were presenting that. So
That's
thank you for
correct.
clarifying.
And you might know at one of the last meetings, we actually extended the date through August, so they're coming along quite well. I'm actually going to Alabama with Bill to take a look at it. He's been very impressed with some of the pictures we have.
So we're talking about the property there where the old state trooper office
That's
used to be?
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
And there's a monument there now. What's gonna happen with that?
Well, the monument was moved across the road. It used to be in there, that big limestone or.
I thought I saw one there the other day when I went through there, but maybe
I think it was
Okay.
moved across.
Okay.
And just so you know, we have met with Calvin and Steve, and we've located the laydown for our parking deck, which will be actually on the Pine Street side of that. And we've checked with Mike Doyle, so there's no utilities there that could be affected. So, that'll go straight up Pine Street to our work site.
Is the total, what's the total amount of the statue? Is this the total 28,996?
I'd have to refer to Shana.
Or is that
I
a
don't have that in front of me.
I'd have to look at the contract.
I'll get that to you.
It started at 25. And I was on 56.
It's more than that now, but they raised the money for it.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you. Well, that makes us go.
Thank you.
It went up double, that's the reason we called and quit making it. We switched over. And this is the only person we found.
Well, you could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Chief, you're next.
Well, Gary has tested our metal detector to make sure it worked okay. About 3 times.
It has been working. All the time.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I've got 2 items today on the agenda. The first is consent agenda item L. This is a resolution to approve a contract with Moore's Heating and Air to provide labor, equipment, materials, incidentals necessary to replace one 8-ton compressor in our number 2 15-ton HVAC unit. We had 2 units. One of the compressors is shot. It's the short way of saying that. And that amount is $5,100. Those big units to cover a lot of, to cool a lot of area in our downstairs. And when one of the compressor goes out, we all feel it down there. That's part of the building. It's occupied 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's that time of year. I had the main unit in the main level of my house replaced last week, so air conditioning issues happen for sure. The second item, any questions on that one? The second item is regular agenda item, see if I can, is it B, is that right?
B,
Regular agenda item B.
record service.
This is a resolution to approve new baseline specifications for record services for record companies to participate in the City of Florence record rotation. Currently, if somebody's involved in a traffic accident, they always have a choice to decide what record company they want to use. In the event that someone is incapacitated, we have a record that's on rotation. Or if we make an arrest for DUI and we're going to tow a vehicle, there's a record that's on rotation. We have not updated any of these specifications since 2012. That means 10 years later, they're still charging the same amount per tow, same amount to store a vehicle. Nothing has changed in 10 years. The language in these new specifications is based on what we currently use, but we've also updated a few things. And I could answer specific questions or I could go over it. It's basically, we are updating the tow charges, and as it stands right now, if somebody was to have a Toyota Prius towed, that record company would get the same amount of money to tow a Toyota Prius as if a dump truck is to overturn off in a ditch and roll down the hill, and they would have to bring in a large wrecker, hook it up with cables, and bring in a second tow truck. They get paid, these record companies get paid exactly the same for both of those tows under existing language. This language updates that. It provides, it makes it reasonable for a record company to want to participate, number one, but it's based on, the tow amount is based on the size of the vehicle. And we use some standard language in commercial vehicles. I would say it's, tell you page, let me try to get it there. You can see where the numbers are. I think it is page 7, beginning 6, beginning on 7, shows you there's different size. On page 6, for example, if it's just a standard tow, then it's going to be right at $150. If you move up into a big vehicle, then depending on the size of the vehicle, it's either $200. If it's a very large vehicle, 26,000 pounds or greater, they get $350. Makes perfect sense, because the work and effort and the equipment that they have to go in to tow different sized vehicles, it needs to be reflected in how much money they make. They don't need to make the same amount of money for towing a small car as they do a big one. And if there's language in here for an exceptional tow, if a vehicle is off in a ditch somewhere and it takes 2 wreckers to come out and hook cables and have to climb through the mud and pull one up a hill, that they get reimbursed for their time and effort. It's not just a standard set $100 fee, which is what they're getting right now. And they're getting $25 a day, I think, to store them. This increases it to $30 a day. Something else that's been added that I think is very important is on page 9 and 10, there's penalties if a wrecker company does not follow these specifications. And here's what's happening is we have a wrecker company right now that we would call and say, hey, it's a very large vehicle. We have a dump truck that had, I don't know, I'm just, for example, was hauling pine trees, has overturned at Cox Creek and Florence Boulevard. We have a couple of companies right now will say, nah, I know I'm the wrecker that's on rotation. I don't have the stuff. I don't want to fool that. Call somebody else. And they'll just not take their turn on rotation and have somebody else come out. So we have now put in some, on page 9, some rotation list violations. If they refuse to take a call, or if they're late, if they are delayed very long, then we have first violation, they get a written warning from us. A second violation within 12 months, we'll suspend their participation for 30 days. A third violation within 12 months is a 6-month suspension, and then a fourth one is a permanent removal for it. So I think it updates some of the language. Back in June or July of last summer, I sent a letter to the wrecker companies and asked, what would you like to see in some revised language? And gave all of them an opportunity to weigh in. Heard from 2 of them, and have based a lot of this on the feedback I got from them. Their main complaint was, hey, I get the same amount to pull a car up that's broke down on the side of the road that I hook a winch to and pull it on the back of a rollback as I do if that big 18-wheeler is overturned and within there's logs everywhere. I still, under the contract, they have to charge the same amount, which is just not, wasn't reasonable, wasn't profitable. So this at least makes it, gives them a chance to be successful in the record business if they choose to abide by our specifications.
We didn't get a copy of those specs.
They were on there. I got them from the website. I'm sorry. I can.
You just email them to us.
I will. I absolutely will. Yeah. Okay.
Chief, I have a question. Is it possible for somebody to opt out of a rotation if they choose that they don't want to participate based on the new things? Can they say, you know what, no, we don't want to mess with it at all?
They absolutely. In fact, they're going to have to require. And I asked Billy to give us a 6-week time ahead, but yeah, give them 6 weeks to a chance to evaluate this lead time to say, hey, can I get the equipment necessary, or is this something I want to participate in or not? But you know, it requires 4 tow trucks. That's the language that was in there since 2012. Well, there's a company now that's on rotation that only has 2, and they're late getting there, and again, they're turning down calls, and they're not even abiding by 10-year-old specifications, and there's no penalty in there right now other than me just to tell them, hey, no, you're out. So this also gives them a due process where if they think we've treated them wrong, they can come before the council and they can appeal to you all and say, hey, here's what's going on. So I think it's the language is helpful.
And you'll review them more frequently now?
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? I certainly will email those to you.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Bill.
Good afternoon. We've got 2 items on the agenda. Item number M, a resolution to approve payment of an invoice 3022 from Southern Pump and Control, and this was for preventive maintenance and emergency motor repair to an irrigation pump station at Blackberry Trail Golf Course in the amount of $3,977.50.
Any questions?
Next is item N, is a resolution to approve a contract with Certified Alarm to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to add 4 security cameras to the existing security system at Roller Avenue Recreation Center and Pools in the amount not to exceed $1,900 and $1990 to be paid from budgeted funds.
Will you do the monitoring with certified?
They do as far as the monitoring, but we can go back and look. We had somebody to actually climb the fence and go swimming one night, and so we're able to use those cameras to identify them, and then next time they did it, we caught them. So, yes.
Any other questions?
Do you have enough lifeguards now?
We're getting close. We posted it again today, but we've had enough to open, and I think they were standing in line pretty much the whole time. But we had 125. Don't quote me on that. That is our limit. You know, we can get up a little bit higher than that, but we're getting close.
Hey, Bill, while you're here, will you update us on the fountain at Wilson Park? I know I got your email, but is there any later news on that? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, if you can,
I think we're running ahead of time.
Get ready. So they gave us a quote, and the quote to repair it is $5,050.
And what happened to it again?
Basically the sump pump got some leaves in it, and it clogged up, so it enabled the water to rise above the meter base there, and it blew it out. But the bad thing is the lead time on it is 38 to 40 weeks. So we're hoping we're going to be able to override it and get it back running in the meantime. But that's the lead time to get the actual part to replace it. But I'll keep y'all updated.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Because we just repaired that.
Yes.
That's what threw me. I thought we just fixed it. And
We did.
is there a way to prevent it from happening again, or?
It's just, it's your basic sump pump.
Yeah.
So when that sump pump was doing what it's supposed to, it just got clogged up, and
Allowed to put a cage around it, or?
I hope we can look at doing something to maybe prevent it from clogging up, but it's just one of those things. Thanks for asking. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Did you want to bring up about we had an item that you added on yeah.
Just. We just added an item to add the federal holiday Juneteenth, which is June the 19th, onto our calendar for future. And that was a holiday was actually celebrated as federal holiday last year about the time we were doing our budget, and we just failed to do that. So I just went ahead and added that tonight's agenda. So you'll notice the item just says that it will start with this year and continue thereafter on our calendar of holidays.
Thank you, Mayor. Gary.
I have two items on the agenda tonight. First is on the regular agenda, item C. It's where the building department is asking the council by resolution to declare 11 properties public nuisances that they can be demolished and abated. First is 707 Willow Street. Next is 514 Livingston Street. Next is 1207 East Bluff Street. Next is 1112 West College Street. The next is 1106 West College Street. I think the agenda originally said 106, but it's actually 1106 West College. Next is 1104 West College Street. The next is 616 Larimore Street. The next property on the agenda, 105 Coffee Road, has been demolished by the owner, Chad Package. So it has been demolished. So it's gone. Next is 812 West Mobile Street. I think you heard at the last council meeting from the representative of the property owner, but there's been no changes, and we're asking the council to go ahead and declare it unsafe so we can go ahead with the demolition. Next is 613 High Street, and finally 1111 Kansas Avenue. And we'd ask the council to pass a resolution declaring those as public nuisances.
Any questions? Okay.
Gary, what will happen, just as a reminder, we will take on the expense of doing the work, and then please walk us through that process so that we'll know what that looks like.
We'll wait 10 days. These property owners have an opportunity to appeal your decision to circuit court. We'll wait 10 days and then we'll work it into the street department schedule when they'll be able to do the demolition of the properties. When they can do that, we track the cost of it and all, and then we'll come back and report to council. That's my next item that I have on the agenda for the cost incurred. After that cost is determined by and approved by the council, then we'll record it at the courthouse, and it becomes due as property taxes become due as a lien against the properties.
So we work our best to recoup that money.
We do. Yes. And we have been pretty successful in recouping a lot of that cost back.
We have?
I'm sorry?
Did you say we have?
We have, yes, we've been able to collect on several of them.
And we did add to that public hearing, 8 additional property owners.
Gary, we added that to the agenda.
The cost you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that's the next item I'm coming back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The next item is for the placement of the liens and determining, confirming the cost of the demolitions of properties that was previously declared a public nuisance by the council and demolished by the street department. Those properties are 106 Harris Street, 114 Hudson Street, 220 North Cherokee Street, 258 Creekside Drive, 3332 Huntsville Road, 301 Wallace Street, 1015 West Mobile Street, and 1018 Kennard Street. Those property owners and persons of interest have been notified of this meeting, and so they can appear if they so choose to contest those charges.
So what we'll do is go ahead and have a public hearing on these 8 items. Have a public hearing, and then we'll come back and do a resolution on each one of them at the end.
For the charges?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just a hearing for the property owner or person of interest to have an opportunity to address the council about the charges. And without having contact from anyone on it. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Gary. Any questions?
Thank you.
As y'all know, the Greater Shoals Broadband Property, which we are a member of, as the council needs to appoint 4 members. And the ones that we have, 4 that we had shown interest in, and one is Jack Dressler, Michelle Eubanks, Greg Solomon, and Richard Morrison. Those are the 4 that we have put down as our nominees, y'all. So, does that suit y'all? If it does, I hear a motion to appoint these 4 individuals to the
Motion.
second. A motion by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Gibbon, all in favor? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm
It's unanimous. So if, I assume we need to send this to, at the next meeting, let's have a resolution for each one of them to point them to the cooperative. Yeah, each individual, or if they can't do it in one, however they want to do it. and don't come back asking for money.
Y'all wanna do some board appointments too?
Do what?
Y'all wanna do some board appointments?
Let's do it. We've done the zoning, like, we need the 3 on the vacancies for tree. We did the historical. We do need to do 2 on the agro center, and we got the industrial development, and we appointed those 2.
Oh, we haven't done
Yes, we did.
it. When?
You weren't here, because I
That's right,
remember.
you wasn't here.
We did Debbie Stoverville and Scott Lovis were both reappointed. Aubrey Wilson and Ryan Moore were both appointed. Morris Craycraft was appointed. And the others we did not discuss, but we need to have a resolution for those. I don't think we did any on the tree commission.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. So let's come and look at those at the next meeting.
All right.
We don't have any other business. We'll take a break until our regular meeting. Yeah.